And welcome back, Volcano Dungeon. Let's do this. First thing to note is that there's going to be a lot of annoying wizard placement in this area. However, they do drop enough items that they can make it relatively simple to deal with. At least for now. Get used to seeing spikes too. That's going to be a common annoyance for about half of this dungeon. Now, you don't have to get this. I just prefer to get this. Especially since most of these are duplicates of items I have anyway, so I don't feel too bad about wasting them. This part can be kind of tricky. The fire doesn't hurt you too much, so you can just stand on the platform and slash the wizard as soon as he comes up. And you need to because he drops this key. Now, first in this area, you want to drop to the left of this boulder. Because, number one, you get this chest. And that drops a gourd, which I don't have, so I'm going to use something else instead. And now we're going to drop down to the left. Oh, and land on top of the Elite Knight, apparently. But there's also a chest that's behind him, so we'll just win this quick war of attrition with his shield. And we'll be able to grab the key behind him. And now we drop down one more level. And you end up in a room with a couple gremlins, a couple bats, and a big ugly ogre. Now, you don't actually have to kill everything in this area. All that you really need to get is the golem and the gremlins. And once you do that, you'll hear a noise and a teleporter will spawn in the lower right. The bats are more so just there to annoy you through this section. And through most of this dungeon, actually. So, we just go back the way we came and now drop to the right instead of the left. And here we are. By the way, you're probably seeing a bunch of random posts sticking out of various areas. Remember that for later. We're going to run all the way through this area, and we have to kill everything here. Including that annoying little chain of flames in front of us. You can kind of keep it in place by doing the kick spam. So that's what I opted to do here. And I'm just taking advantage of the enemy AI. It's not particularly smart. Oh crap. If you jump quick enough, you can escape being stuck on those spikes. Because the way spikes work in this game is whatever direction you're facing when you're standing on them, it'll push you in the opposite direction. So if I was facing to the right on those spikes, it would have pushed me all the way back to the left side of the screen. And it also would have taken off a decent chunk of my health too. Now, killing everything gets rid of these spikes, but we don't want to do that yet. Because a teleporter also spawned back here. And that gives us this key, which we're going to need. Okay, now we can go up these steps. And welcome to the most annoying part of the dungeon. There are a bunch of wizards that spawn and try to knock us off of a series of moving platforms. And by a series, I mean there's like 4 of them. However, some of these wizard placements are incredibly annoying to deal with, so you can just ride back and forth and deal with them as they spawn in front of you. Get used to this moving platforms thing, by the way. It's going to come up a few other times later in the game. So I hope you're used to jumping. And this is actually pretty simple right now, because we just gotta jump directly to the left, directly to the right, whatever. We're not even to the parts where you have to do diagonal jumps yet. It's not particularly tricky, it's just, it takes some getting used to with how jumping works in this game. Also, something else to note is that the timing of these platforms is a little off. So sometimes you might have to wait for a few cycles to be able to bridge the gap of that jump. And we are already at the boss. Now this guy has a few attacks. One, those little fireballs. Two, that massive jet of fire. And he will also try to bite you. Now the little fireballs can be destroyed by basic attacks, at least with the sword. And something to note about the flame jet attack, it's by far the worst one to get hit by, but you can escape it by just moving at a walking pace. Also, right before he does it, he typically roars, so that can be a little tip-off to you to start moving. And I'm staying along the right side of the screen because I find it easier to avoid that flame jet attack here, because it seems like there's a little more room to maneuver here than there is along the bottom of the screen. Something else to note is that if you lure his head close enough to the far wall, you'll be able to get more than one attack in on him. It might be possible to get 3 attacks in on him, but I usually just manage to get 2. It can also be kind of annoying though, because he'll sometimes pull his head so far up that you won't be able to hit it even with jump attacks. And I'm specifically not using any of Ditto's attacks because, well, number one, she just has the tornado attack that I could use, which is pretty random in how it paths around the area, so there's no guarantee it'll do a lot of damage. By the way, bombs and arrows also not particularly effective against this boss. And 2, I mainly just want Ditto out for the healing. Although, since that boss fight actually went decently well, I'm actually going to have to get rid of Ditto, because the dragon disappears and this moving platform spawns. And it's going to lead to another gate where we can get access to yet another element. Well, actually I don't know if I should call it an element, so much as, well, you'll just see. Because now we have access to Shade. And Shade can be particularly useful on a couple of fronts. I'll just go ahead and let the in-game explanation show you exactly how Shade can be useful. Yeah, Ali can become invincible now. And this is what it looks like when Shade is currently out. You get this little kind of doubling effect. I guess we know where Symphony of the Night got it from. And there's actually a couple things that little explanation didn't note about the many ways that Shade can be quite useful. Although I'm going to demonstrate the decoy effect real quick. We're going to have to do that in a couple of dungeons. Now, since we defeated the boss, the volcano is now starting to kind of self-destruct, I guess. That's something else that's quite useful about Shade, is if you fall off a platform, it'll rescue you. Normally you'd fall off, you'd respawn, and you take a little damage, but Shade can just carry you back up to the platform. And this is also what all those posts in the ground in various areas have been for. I'm going to go ahead and grab that red gem. Now the path out of here is going to be a little different than the path we took in. Because if you try going back the normal way, it's blocked by rocks. So what you have to do is remember that by taking this left path, there's a post on the other side of this gap. So we cross over here. And now we can crawl out this alternate exit. And this section can be a little tricky if you're not fully adjusted to platforming in this game. Some of these gaps require pretty precise timing of your jumps, particularly on running jumps. Also, we're going to go down here and get our first Shade Gem. There's not really a whole lot to say about this area, although for some of these smaller platforms, if you're doing the running jump, it's possible that you can just slide off the edge and end up having to do it all over again. But for now, we're going to go ahead and ascend these staircases, and we're going to talk with the wise man at the top here. He's going to give us a ring, and he's not going to really explain what exactly it does, but what it does is it regenerates your SP very slowly when you're standing still. You might get lost here until you realize you have to talk to the wise man again. Because when he does that, he explains that our eldest sister used to own the ring that we just got, and she's been missing for a while. Now we have to go back to the castle because Silver Armlet is on their way there. And he spawns this little time rift here. So I'm going to get rid of Shade, and just stand off to the side here. And this is going to spawn us on the beach to the west of the castle. So we're going to have to go through a forest, and in fact a forest shrine on the way there. So next time on Beyond Oasis, we will start making our way back to the castle and hopefully make a little progress with the shrine.